It's life. Uh, a very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome again to another informative live session by ML. And it gives me immense pleasure to introduce to our speaker for today, Ms. Dania Irfan. She is a dietitian and holistic nutrition coach. She has years of experience and expertise in women's health, that is both physical and mental. She's on a mission to create a health for 100,000 in next 5 years. She's also, and stay tuned for our upcoming program that is for women refreshed mind. And today our topic for the talk is very interesting. And you can say ki, we everyone is afraid of one word when we are on diet, that is fat. But today she's going to talk about that fat is friendly. So I'll welcome Ms. Dania ma'am. We can take up the stage and tell us how fat is friendly for us.
Thank you, Divya. Thanks a lot for the introduction. And I'm really glad to be here and sharing knowledge about simple things, but yet useful in our daily lives, right? So fat is something, as Divya said, it is something which has been a cause of worry and concern throughout ages. You know, every time there are a lot of studies which keep coming out, which have been, discussed and published since many years. Okay, okay, so let me. Okay. So let us just first start to understand that what are the facts about fat. Okay, how is the fat helping us in our body? Okay, the first and foremost thing is that that we should not overdo anything concerning fat. Okay, so either don't overindulge in it, or do not go so low that you are practically having a fat-free kind of a diet. Okay, so there has to be a balance maintained. So the key is not to overdo anything. So the first function which the fat performs in our body is it is the most essential component of fueling or giving us energy. Because as we know, whatever food we are consuming, the carbohydrates and fats are the ones which are responsible for giving us, providing us with energy. So if you're not taking enough fat, you are depriving the body of the energy it needs. So we will discuss later on what are the good fats and what are the bad fats. And it's not that okay, fats, if they are good for us, any kind of fats are allowed to be taken. So we will go about discussing that in the next slides. Okay, so in the next function of fat in our body is the cholesterol which we consume. It is integral for brain function. So brain is made up of cholesterol. I mean, it requires cholesterol for its functioning. So the right quantity of the fat intake from diet is important so that it gets manufactured into cholesterol, and it is important for the brain function. Pure ghee versus hydrogenated and trans fats, that is the dalda ghee. Okay, so pure ghee is the good fat, and the hydrogenated and the trans fats are the ones which are causing the most problem for us. Fats are also vitamin carriers. So we have heard of these vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. So these 4 vitamins are fat soluble, and they require the fat in the body to be absorbed. So if we are deficient in fats, we will be deficient also in these vitamins also. So it's important for this also, okay, to carry the vitamins. It protects the body from trauma because fat is like a cushioning layer around inside. It forms a cushion around our internal organs. So some kind of trauma or extreme weathers or all these things are helping it to are helping our body. I mean, they are protecting our body from inside. Another function and most basic function is that it keeps our hair and skin lustrous. You will see that if you are consuming very less fat, or if you're consuming the wrong type of fats, you will have a very dull and very scaly and flaky kind of skin, and hair fall and all these things will be common. So so try to understand that what are the good fats, what are the bad fats, and how these fats during metabolism are creating something, are a part of this balanced meal which we always talk about, right? Carbohydrates, proteins, fats, minerals, water, and vitamins. So let's go on to what happens to the fat when you eat. Okay, any kind of food which you eat, okay, it will be having some kind of fat in it, or even if it does not have any kind of fat, what happens to the food which you are consuming? The food is processed by the digestive system, and the fat which is present in your food, it gets digested by the bile from the liver. So bile is required to digest the fat. Now the glucose which is consumed from the food, it gets it is utilized for the daily functions, like the basic functions of what we perform every day, moving around. All these are the basic functions, plus the involuntary jo hai, things like digestive system, the excretory system, and all the internal organs of which we don't have any control. So these systems ke liye bhi you will require energy. So this is this glucose which gets converted in the body after you consume the food. It is used up for the daily energy. And the excess glucose, now whatever is used up by the body, whatever is used up by your muscles or everything after the usage, what happens to the ones which the molecules of sugar which are remaining or glucose which are remaining, they get converted into fat and get stored in the adipose tissue. That the fat storage, we call it as adipose tissue. Okay, so the simple science we have to understand here is that if your intake of food is more than you are expending, than your expenditure. Obviously, say you are taking in 2000 calories, okay, and you are spending just say 1500 calories, okay. So the excess of that 500 calories is causing the weight to put on, the weight to come on, gaining weight, okay. Then if the intake is equal to the expenditure, then you do not either lose or you do not gain weight. So it's basically creating balances of input and output, intake and expenditure, sorry. And then if the intake is less and than the expenditure, then that is the time you go into a weight loss stage. So say your intake, as we said, is 2000 calories, okay, but you are spending 2500 calories. So that extra 500 calories which we are seeing over here will be drawn out from the fat storage, and it will eventually result in weight loss. And what happens now when you do a workout? So the available the glucose which is available to it is used up when you are exercising. Obviously you need more energy. When you need more energy, whatever you have circulating in your body, that is getting used up. And for that extra, say if you're walking for or you're jogging or you're working out for 1 hour, okay, so this circulatory glucose will be available for say 10 to 15 minutes, and later on what happens is the excessive glucose which you need for functioning, that it is moved out from the storage for fuel to fuel the muscles. So if you're walking or if you're jogging or if you're working out or anything, what is happening is that this the fat storage is getting mobilized, and the fat is getting converted to the glucose, and you're being able to work out. And what another thing that happens when you work out is that the good hormones are released, like endorphins and dopamine and all that. So they assist in mood elevation, and when your mood is elevated, you feel better, your mental health is better, and that is another critical criteria for looking into losing weight. Okay, so that is another thing. And additional oxygen intake, while you're exercising, you're also taking in excess of oxygen, right? You are, you're breathing, your ventilation is faster, you're breathing fast. Because of the fast breathing, you're taking in more oxygen, and the more oxygen that you are taking in, it is helping to burn out the fat. So this is the basic behind what happens when you are eating and when you are working out. Yeah. Okay. So let's go into what are the types of fats and oils which we are consuming. Like, this is the actual topic for the day, the types of fats and oils. So majorly 4 types are there. One is the first one is trans fat, then hydrogenated fats, PUFA, that is polyunsaturated fatty acid, and MUFAs. Okay, all these words and all you must have heard, you must have seen it on the packages of food products, of dairy products, of on these processed foods, and the simple things as, like, if you buy some kind of chips or something for your children, you must be seeing on that, or on the juices of or boxes which you are buying. Anything processed or packaged will have these kind of terminologies which you're seeing over here, this much of trans fat or hydrogenated fat or PUFA or MUFA and all. So we need to understand what is present, what kind of fats are present in which foods, and which fat is good for us and which fat is harmful for us. So the trans fats are the ones, they are the ones which are when you're cooking or overcooking, when you're deep frying, and when you at home also, and if you see products which are deep fried outside, like those potato chips or French fries kind of things, or even fried snacks, the farsan and all. So they are the deep fried fats, and these deep fried fats have this continued usage of the excess quantity of oil. So this oil, when it is fried and refried again and again, it has a tendency to have these converts into trans fats, and these trans fats are the ones which are causing this free radical damage and cancerous damage which happens in our body. That is what happens to the oil. So you may be having using that oil maybe for a very long time now. But if you are conscious enough that, okay, if you have fried it once, okay, you take enough oil, fry it in that, and then you can, remaining oil, if you have to discard it. Actually, that needs to be done. Because at home also, if you refry again and again, one day, second day, third day, it tends to become dangerous. And the hydrogenated fats are the ones which are present, in these all these bakery kind of products, because of the shortenings which are used in it, like margarine or butter and all these things. So they are the sources of hydrogenated fat, the margarines and the butter and all. So, and also butter which is present in this microwave popcorns, or donuts, ready donuts, and the deep fried chicken, or something like frozen pizza, or or any other processed food which is there, which has some quantity of fat, that will be the hydrogenated fat. And this is the most deadly kind of fats, this trans fat and these hydrogenated fats. So that is that. And about PUFA, it is the ones which are found in plant and animal foods, vegetable oils, nuts and seeds. So, and the MUFA is the one which is the most, the one which has got the most beneficial qualities. And these are found in this olive oil, peanut oil, avocado, the almonds, pistachios, walnuts, hazelnuts. And these MUFAs are, solid at room temperature. For example, coconut oil and ghee. Now, these two ones which people always argue, and it is always still, it will be a little bit in controversy, because people and studies have shown that at times, these things being a little bit solid at room temperature, they are a cause of concern, because they can be treated like these hydrogenated fats. because these hydrogenated fats are the ones in which oils are given the hydrogen, extra hydrogen artificially, and then that is when they get converted into this solid kind of fats. But uh, the good point about this coconut oil and ghee is that they are fatty, but they are at room temperature. So this thing has been argued a long time, but studies have shown now that coconut oil and ghee, if used in the correct quantity with appropriate balance of other oils, are turns out to be beneficial for your health. So so what are the risk factors which are involved in these consuming of these fats? So unsaturated fat, that is the PUFA and the MUFA, they lower the rate of cardiovascular diseases and mortality. Matlab death rates are come down if you are using this PUFA and MUFA. It provides the essential fatty acids that the body needs. Now, the essential fatty acids are the ones which the body needs for its function on a daily basis, but it is not produced by the body. That is the reason why it is called essential fatty acid, because these are the ones you have to consume through your diet. It improves your overall health, and also it gives good satiety. So if you're consuming good fats, it will give you enough that feeling of fullness, and if taken in correct quantity, they can help you get onto the road of healthy weight loss. Saturated fats are they increase the rate of cardiovascular disease and mortality. As I had said earlier, because they are the most dangerous fat. It increases the triglyceride levels. It can be reversed, but these can be managed in a certain way with healthy lifestyle and consuming other things along with it. So they can be the effects can be bettered, but they are nonetheless they are a risk factor for our health. And if you limit its usage to avoid future complications. And this trans fats and these hydrogenated fats should be totally removed from your food, from your diet, from your daily diet. If you're looking for weight loss, if you're looking for a good healthy lifestyle, these are the ones which should be kicked out of your house immediately, these trans and hydrogenated fats. So high chance of heart attacks, this is the biggest risk factor, sorry. Free radical damage, that means your body system tends to degenerate with the over and advanced usage of these kind of fats. They raise the bad cholesterol in the body, that is the low density lipoprotein, which we must have seen if you all have done a lipid profile or something earlier. At any point in time, you would have seen that the doctor would say this is the bad cholesterol and this is the good cholesterol. So the LDL is a bad cholesterol, and iska jo wo hona chahiye blood mein, that should be low. Whereas there is another component of this fat, that is HDL, that is high density lipoprotein. So the quantity of the levels of this should be more in the body. So when you're looking at a lipid profile, HDL should be more and LDL should be less. So that is the basic words for them used are the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol for layman's term. Using only these oils, in excess leads to cancer and gastrointestinal disorders. Let us go on to what we say about the good fats that you eat. So it's just a simple and this mind map about what kinds of food you should eat. That is the fatty fish, the good fatty fish, okay, avocados, nuts and seed oils, dairy ghee, that is the home prepared ghee which we make from milk cream, coconut oil, olives, nut butters, So it could be, almond butter or peanut butter, as we have seen, which is available these days. Then seeds and nuts, like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds. There are a number of seeds which are available these days and which are beneficial for your overall consumption of healthy fats. So when these foods are taken in the correct quantity and in the right way, what happens is that they give you so much satiety that you will not crave any food, or you will not feel as though you are hungry very soon. So the creating that kind of balance will be is important in all this. Okay. Next is the foods which you should avoid. Yeah, obviously, which we have seen is the fried snacks, which we have seen, the deep fried, over fried snacks, packaged snacks and beverages, refined foods. Refined foods include the usage of the refined flours, that is maida, that is wheat flour ka jo refined hai, that is maida. Then people tend to use a lot of this corn starch and corn flour also. So any flour which is the most refined form is the one which is most dangerous and very harmful for your health. Yeah, because what has happened is all the fiber and everything, all the beneficial effects from that have gone off during the polishing and processing of into making it into a refined flour. Similarly with refined oils also. So similarly with refined oils, what has happened is you must have seen on your oil containers being mentioned, refined sunflower oil or refined peanut oil or refined whichever rice bran oil, whichever it is. So these refined oils are the ones which over usage become dangerous and tend to get we tend to it tends to develop into trans fatty acids. The red meats are the ones which you get from these goats, the goat meat or cow or buffalo meat and all. So these are the ones which are very harmful and you should avoid these. Okay, hydrogenated oils that we saw, that simple example of that is margarine and this dalda ghee. Okay, and these desserts which contain a combination of polished sugar, butter, refined flour. So it's the combination is such that there is nothing beneficial in it. It is just for the taste, and it is just giving you empty calories. So another example of this on this refined thing also could be the cola beverages and the fruit juices which you're getting in the market, the packaged fruit juices. They are also the ones which are absolutely refined with no nutritive value. Okay, you will call them empty calories. They are just consuming calories, but there is no nutrition in it. As we discussed, this over fried oil and processed foods, which are processed foods also, like you have these foods which are ready to fry. So the vegetable nuggets or chicken nuggets, or you have a lot of sausages and bacons and all these things which are readily available today. And even sometimes you find these gravies also packaged in the saying ready to eat, sirf nikalo or garam karke kha lo, and kind of thing. So those things are, no doubt, they have served a lot in terms of convenience of availability, but health wise it's better to avoid them as much as possible. So there are a few questions which come up while we are talking about fat, right? So what happens if we do not eat enough fat? What happens? What would happen if we don't eat enough fat? We are depriving our body of energy. We are depriving our body of absorbing the vitamins, fat soluble vitamins, and also we are depleting the energy source to our brain also, because that is where the fat is used the most. So you see that it's going fat free is not the solution. So using the correct fat and the right kind of fat in the correct balance is what is required for a healthy life. Are fat people only prone to heart disease? Now, this is one thing which is which often crops up when if a person is not very fat, but they have got some risk of cardiovascular issues. Yeah, so they will ask, hey, I'm not fat. Why have I got such an abnormal lipid profile? Or I am not very, and a fat person may say, will ask this kind of a question that is it that because I'm fat, I am at, I will be kind of getting a heart attack very soon or anything. But you have to there has to be an understanding that it's not about being fat or being thin. It's all about how much of activity is going on and what kind of lifestyle you are having. So if a thin person is consuming all the kind of junk food, thinking that okay, I'm thin, I can eat all this, and is not exercising and is not consuming the right kind of foods, so what is happening is that person may be more prone to will get more prone to getting into a into a heart disease. Although fat persons are, of course, obesity is a predisposing factor to heart disease, but it's not that only fat people are having these kind, they are suffering. Everyone who is not having a healthy lifestyle will be suffering. uh, Another thing is, I eat very little, still I don't lose weight. You must have dietitians in this room must have come across this kind of a query uh, a lot of times. I have come across almost 90% of my clients will come and tell me that my intake is very less, but after a certain point I don't lose weight, or at times they will say that I don't lose weight at all even if I'm eating less, mera appetite bahut kam hai, and all this kind of things. So what happens, we in the quest of eating and in the quest of losing weight and weight loss and making our bodies perfect and all this, what we are missing out on the fact that when we are eating less, we are depriving the body of the energy it needs. That is one thing. Second thing, what happens is that the metabolism is getting affected. Okay, so as we had seen, the body needs energy to carry out certain functions which are not in our control also. Pulmonary functions and cardiac functions, excretory and all that. तो अगर आप वो चीज अगर कम ले रहे हो, so क्या हो रहा है कि it is affecting your metabolism. So the body is sensing that, oh God, what is happening is that this thing is going into a starvation mode. I am not getting enough calories. I'm not getting enough energy to perform my daily functions. So what happens is it tends to shut down. Okay, when it shuts down, that is an indication that your metabolism has slowed down. It will your bodily functions, जो internal functions है वो affect हो जाएंगे. Your overall metabolism will slow down, and there will be no weight loss. Yeah, so for these kind of people, what happens is you need to refeed them a larger food quantity so that they are उनका metabolism ठीक हो और वो लोग फिर weight lose करें. So this is the reason. What happens is, if you are eating very less, your body is sensing starvation and it shuts down. Okay, so just to trick the body into understanding that you are eating a lot, we tend to advise frequent meals, like every 2 hours eat something. So, and not eat something as in junk or any kind of refined food, but something like a fruit or some kind of nuts or some something in between, so that what happens is that body thinks, okay, I'm getting enough. Okay, and it is utilizing the energy to spend on digesting that particular food. So automatically what is happening is, by increasing our intake, we are increasing the metabolism. So that is about how and similarly it goes with this point also, how to eat more and lose weight. So the the idea behind eating more is not just eating more, but eating mindfully and eating the right things in continuous intervals, so that your body knows that it is being fed enough of in energy, and it is utilizing the food that we are taking to the energy from that food it is taking to digest the food that is being taken in, and that is how metabolism gets better, and that is when you will start losing the weight. So overall, it would be, I would say, that a positive mindset to change yourself plus a healthy lifestyle, that will be the cornerstone, that will be the ultimate thing to get a success in your weight loss journey. So it is, it is not as simple as it is not as simple, but it is not as complicated also, if you put your mind at it, and if you start doing the correct things and take the correct the fat which we are talking about, okay, in the right way. And if by not using these refined foods, you are you're not abusing your body by just feeding it anything that is coming in front of you. Okay, so when the body feels positive and you have a healthy lifestyle, that is where your weight loss will happen. So yeah, so that's about fat and fat loss and weight loss. Any queries in over here? Please let me know.
Wow, that was a really interesting and informative session. And I think it must have cleared many doubts among people that fat is not your enemy. If taken in a right amount, in a right way, and the right fat, it is your friend, and it would benefit you rather than giving any or causing any harm.
Yes.